All right, guys. Welcome everybody back. Our fifth episode here of Calling Audible. We're pleased to have Coach Mark Elder. Coach Elder is the head coach at Moeller High School in Ohio. A lot of Ohio ties going back to his high school days at Sycamore. Is that correct, Coach?
Yes.
And then played at Case Western, and then was a coach at the University of Cincinnati, amongst also the University of Tennessee, and also the head coach at Eastern Kentucky University. And now he's back as the head coach of Moeller High School and ready to wreak havoc in Division I in the state of Ohio. So he's going to be speaking a little bit on special teams, technique, drill work, and philosophy a little bit today. Coach?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you guys having me on and wrecking havoc. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's going to be happening at all, but no, I'm really excited to be back in Cincinnati. I mean, this is hometown for me. Moeller's a really neat and special place. They're great people here, and really up until this pandemic, I was enjoying the kids, man. They're fantastic young men, and it's been a lot of fun and so forth. So, just going to talk a little bit about special teams, and I got a background in special teams. That's I was the special teams coordinator for a little bit here at Cincinnati, and then at Tennessee for the 3 years there, and then I was very, very, very involved at EKU for sure for those 4 years before they fired me. But we had a lot of success on special teams. I think that's really how I was able to get that EKU job. You know, our final year there at Tennessee, we were number one in the country in special teams efficiency, and I guess what you're going to see here is what I'll talk about is how a couple things will be maybe different than what people expect. One, that success truly is like a group effort, and it started from the top down. I mean, Coach Jones was very involved in special teams as far as putting importance upon it. We put a lot of significant amount of time into it, and then the staff did a phenomenal job. It's not a one-man show, and I think that in order to be successful, that's a key component of it is having a full buy-in of the staff and so forth. But we continue to have a lot of success at EKU in a number of areas. I mean, we had our lumps that we took as well in certain spots, but we were pretty darn good on teams there as well. And I'm going to try to get to a couple things here. Shoot, I forgot to share my screen. I can share my screen here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go? PowerPoint. Where are you at? Can you see that? No?
No.
You're not coming tomorrow, you said?
Okay. Let me close some of this stuff down. I don't know why it's not showing as an option for me here. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Can you see that now?
Yep.
You see the PowerPoint?
I see your documents, and it's PowerPoint's not pulled up yet.
There?
Let's wait.
Stop share. I'm going to go back again and give this one more try here. There we go. Okay. Now.
Yep, we got it now.
Okay.
We got it now. There we go.
I put a little thing together here, and a lot of this stuff, I mean, I just got the more of this offseason, so everything I show here is going to be stuff from the past. So just a couple things as far as come on, computer. So a couple things, again, just going back, when I say group effort, as far as this is concerned, I can't get – hold on. Daggone it, man. I have to show this thing from it's not letting me move forward with it. So from there, perfect. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so we're just going to have to go this way with it. So, so when I talk about like group effort and so forth. I mean, this is how we did things really from the time that I had known, and I thought that this was an important part of things. So, it's not one guy that's coaching all 11 guys. I mean, you'll never be able to get that done. So we treated each unit like it was a side of the football. Just on defense, you got D-line coach, you got linebacker coach, you got DB coach, so forth and so on. We did that, and we assigned position, like we broke it up into what is logical positions to be played. And so we did it that way so that way guys would be able to really focus in on those positions. Those positions were getting coached. It wasn't just scheme. I mean, we were what you're going to see is extremely underwhelming schematically. If you're like, hey, I'm ready to write down the scheme that broke the NCAA record for kickoff return average in a season, which is what we did in 2015, you're going to see that we ran the same return in all but 3 clips of the whole year. Same return. We didn't change it. And yeah, we had good players in Tennessee, and everybody always likes to go to that, but so does Alabama and Georgia and Florida. We were playing teams that were like us. So we broke an NCAA record. Why? Because we were just good at what we did, and we were good at what we did because we coached the same thing over and over and over and over. So when I say it's a team deal, it really was. I mean, like those guys are coaching their tails off. Every guy was coaching their tail off on their unit. If you look over here on punt, that man side, I mean, at EKU, Kevin Koger was coaching the piss out of that man side every play, like he was coaching his receivers when we were on offense and so forth and so on. That's how we did that. We had a different lead coach. I mean, so based upon the year, we would have sometimes somebody would run all of them. Sometimes people would run half of them from a schematic standpoint. But that was year by year based on their side of the ball, if that makes sense. But
could you repeat that? Could you repeat that one more time, Coach? We broke up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
So we might have had based upon. So the special teams coordinator would always – he organized the whole concept of what we were doing, practice time, meeting time, all of those things, and was heavily involved in all the units. Now, sometimes he wasn't running all 4 of them, all 4 of the running units. Sometimes he was. It just depended upon how much he was basically needed from a schematic standpoint on his side of the football. So, sometimes he was running 2, 3, and sometimes 4. It just depended upon really how much that was going to pull from him if he was needed to have less than all 4 because of his input on that side of the football. That was really how it was based upon. But regardless of that, there was going to be people that were coaching the individuals broken up. And I'll get into a little bit of that. But I really thought that a big key to our success throughout our time was our organization of that stuff, and I'll just kind of get into that stuff. So, at EKU, and again, we were pretty good in on teams there. I mean, I think 3 out of the 4 years we had 2 of the 4 running units were ranked in the top 10 in the country in 3 out of the 4 years. And even the one that we didn't have 2, we still had 1 ranked. I mean, we were always pretty good. We had a sore thumb every year. I mean, this past year our punt team stunk, and that cost us. But by and large, we were pretty darn good. And so during training camp, this is how we did it, and this is an example. So this was our fall special teams install schedule that we had that year. We were pretty well organized in how we did things. So during camp, we'd have a 15-minute meeting, and this is, I can only talk about what we've done, and I don't know how much I haven't done the time allotment per day yet as far as how much time we're going to be able to allocate here at Moeller, but this is what we did at EKU, and probably pretty similar at Tennessee. But before the practice, we didn't do doubles. We just had 1 practice, but then we had a run through. Which was no helmets, cleats were on and tied and so forth, and we're running, but it was non-competitive. It was, you'd sweat, but you weren't going to pull a muscle. So before the actual practice, we had a 15-minute meeting, and typically that would be broken up between two different units. It might be 7.5, might be 10 and 5, just based upon how that was needed, and the coordinator was gonna break that up. In training camp, we would do 8-minute periods. So we did 2 units per day, 8-minute periods each. We had a 5-minute specialist period, and we might have a 5-minute field goal versus field goal block, or field goal block separate. That was a day-by-day, case-by-case scenario. Now, one thing I will say that those the specialist period, sometimes people will they just go out there and they punt, and the returners catch the ball, and then the kickers kick, and snappers snap, and that's all they did. I mean, and I'll show you an example. I've got one of them pulled up, but our specialist period, I mean, it was like a stinking carnival. We were trying to utilize as many people as possible during that deal. So, I mean, it was a period of practice, and we had every inch of that field taken. The only people that were safe were quarterbacks primarily, and then linemen. But even offensive, and I say offensive linemen, like even offensive linemen were sometimes shields on punt, and they were doing stuff. So, we tried to really utilize that specialist period to take that as an extra 5 minutes every single day to get better. And that stemmed back from when I was the special teams coordinator at Cincinnati, because you're trying to steal a little bit of time here and a little bit of time there. And we didn't want to keep them after practice too long and so forth. So that was a key component for us, was utilizing that special teams, that specialist period to work on some stuff that maybe you didn't have a chance to get to in a drill period or whatever it might be. Now, this is our season schedule. This is how we did this during the season. We went in practice, so obviously our games are Saturday. I'm going off of a year ago, so this is the days would be different. They just be bumped up a day. But so we met with our kids on Sunday. They had Monday off, but we met with our players on Sunday. And then we went out on the field for basically a walkthrough stuff. But we installed our punt. Because we had a scheme, but we would kind of jazz up the formation a little bit every week. But we had a very, a consistent way that we block things, but we changed the formations up to try to create problems. We did that Sunday, and that was just literally getting them lined up and going through the calls and so forth. During the season, we ran all 4 running units every day. So different than what most people do. But I'll say this, not much different as far as time allotment from other people that are very, very committed to special teams. A lot of times you'll hear people doing they just do 2 of the units, but they do 10 minutes each. Well, we didn't do 2 units for 10 minutes. We did 4 units for 5 minutes. So, but we ran those every single day. We ran all 4 running units. Punt, return, kickoff, return. So Tuesday we had a 15-minute meeting, and this adjusted a little bit throughout the years, but we typically were punt return and kickoff return about 7.5 minutes each. And then we had 6 5-minute periods that day. We did field goal block. That would have been separate on Tuesday. We had a specialist period, and then the 4 running units. Wednesday, we got the other 2 running units meetings, kickoff, punt, and then same thing as far as the 6 5-minute periods. Now, that day we did field goal and field goal block together. So we would do those together. So if we were running a fake, we'd run our fake. If we had a gate play, a swinging gate play, which we did sometimes, it forced our field goal block unit to line up to that. I mean, so that was good work that we did together, and field goal block just ran through all their calls, and field goal, we just bounced the ball around and had that scripted and where they were going. Thursday, we did our practice review. So we videoed all of our practices. And so that was a day where each of the 4 running units got 5 minutes each to watch a clip, maybe 2, of, hey, you screwed this up. We need to get this corrected and this corrected. So that was a 20-minute meeting. And then we had 5 5-minute periods. You can see what they were. We did kickoff, return. Now we were a no sweat Thursday team. We weren't running around. We were walking through this day. So we had 5 5-minute periods. We were kickoff return, we were doing oddities, like kickoff from the 20, kickoff from the 50, alignments on those things. Some oddity stuff that you might get. We're walking through punt return. We were going through all the issues that we might get. Our punt return, our safe punt return, and then field goal block. Again, we would just walk through all the random stuff. Then our Friday, the day before the game, we had 30-minute total. We were in everything. Hands are must, which is like your onside kick at the end of the game if you're losing. Your field goal block, that was when they had a clip or two to watch. And then you had 4 units that we were using. We did our kickoff team. We didn't actually kick. It was sky kicks and stuff like that, and bunt if we had it in. Our punt return, again, just to go over last second formation stuff, and then our must and hands. So that was our season schedule. That's what we did.
Coach, a lot of good stuff there. I want to stop you because I have a couple questions about that.
Sure.
First one is, translating this to the high school level. I know that it's probably going to be different, and I'm sure you're not entirely sure what everything's going to look like. But do you think you'll commit 30 minutes a day to special teams at the high school level?
Close, yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to change some things up. We went to we had that no sweat day or whatever on Thursday, 2 days before the game. We're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're going to practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in pads, at least shells, all 3 of them days. So we'll break up our practice a little bit different. We got younger guys that have played less football. I think continuing to not that a college kid's fundamentally fantastic, but you have spring ball. You got all your kids all off season. You're doing daggone near practices in the month leading up to spring ball. You're doing daggone near practices all summer. You just can't get in formations. I mean, you're doing drill work, just no football out there, So now, yes, we're going to be able to do some of that in the summer, but you got them 10 days, and we're going to do some skill development stuff in the summer. But you don't have a spring ball. You're not doing that stuff in the winter. So I think that getting to do more football, I think will be more important. And they're young. I mean, the younger you are, the fresher you should be, right?
Sure.
So I don't know. We need to have that refresh day on 2 days for a game at this level. They're just younger, and I think that we could utilize that development. So, I don't think that we're going to do field goal block every day. We'll probably cut that back just a little bit. We will do all 4 running units a majority of those days. I don't know that we'll do kickoff every day. I think that could mean we're pretty simple on kickoff. We don't do much. So run fast, hit hard. We've got a couple rules of thumb, but that's about it. So we probably won't do that one every day, but we will do kickoff return pretty much every day. We'll do punt every day. Get a punt blocked, you lose a lot of them games. So we're going to do that every day. We'll do punt return just because it's such a pain in the butt. With all the stuff that you're seeing, we'll do that pretty much every day, and then we'll trim back our field goal block stuff a little bit too. So we're going to do a vast majority of that every day. I don't know if it'll be a full 30 minutes, but it'll be close. We won't do specialist every day, but we'll get that 2 of the 3 days in there. Yes.
Okay.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Not specific, but I mean, yeah, we're still going to be pretty committed to it. I will say that. So practice organization. So this is, and this is probably a little bit minor of a day, but so this was how we organized practice. This was a 7/27. So this was practice 1 of 2017. So I just tried to grab something off of the files I got. So this was how we did. The only depth chart that we had at that point in time. You guys see my mouse, my cursor?
Yep.
Yes.
So we had our field goal depth chart because at this point we weren't doing any scheme. We were legitimately, this is all skills and drills at this point still. We spend a lot of time. Special teams, we treat it like individual. Like you wouldn't necessarily just go out there and be like, hey, let's line up all 11 guys out there and just run plays offensively and defensively. There's drill work. There's fundamentals and things like that. We treat special teams just like that. So we don't even have a depth chart up because while we are legitimately just doing skills and drills at this point in time. So, so the only depth chart that we have is this one of field goal that is up. So that's the only one that we got. Then that is our practice schedule of what we're doing down below that. So we're doing specialists. That diagram to the right is period 2 specialists. So we are the red names, those are coaches. Then everybody else is who they, where people are supposed to be. So as you look at the left hash on the 50, Austin Minor was working with the snappers. We're snapping to our punters. Our punters were punting to our punt returners who are up in the upper left, and Koger was up there with them. Our kickers were kicking from the 50, so not full kicks, but kicking off to our kick returners. Shannon Morrison was with those kick returners. And down here in the bottom right, Gibby was coaching the own the hip drill, and you can see over on the right the list that says Group 2. All those guys, those are the guys that were supposed to be at that drill. And then the bottom left, Zagorski and Maddox were doing the one-step block drill. And Nichols and Bell were the punters. So they're getting their legs broke by the guys doing the one step. And then the Group 1 that's on the kind of on the left by the bottom of the numbers, that's the guys that were supposed to be with Zagorski and Maddox. So that was how we organized to make sure that – I'm losing my mouse. There we go. That was how we were doing that. This was on the practice script, by the way. So that would have been the page. We try to condense it to as small as possible where you can still read it. These would have been posted up so that people knew where to go. I would rip their tail pretty good if guys weren't where they needed to be at special teams. And I'll get into some of that stuff, which I think is really important. But so then these are the other periods, and this is where people needed to be and so forth. So this was covered in the meeting. This was posted in the locker room, and then this was on the coaches' scripts, so that way people could see this stuff and make sure that it was well organized. And so period 8, we were in pump pods, and this is where you broke it up. I mean, we had Gibby and Bell as you're looking at the middle of the field right here. Gibby and Bell, they had these guys, and we were doing the man side on that side. Morrison and Nichols were over here working the zone side. This is an 8-minute period. 4 minutes into this thing, we will flip-flop that thing and work the other way. So we were working man side, zone side. We were early enough in the process here. It was Prax 1, where we didn't know. We didn't know if you were going to be man side or zone side at that point. So we were working the skills and drills at that point. We'd figure that out later, and then you'd just be a man side or a zone side guy for the most part. Then up here, we were up here with the shield guys, and then our punters and snappers who were with Austin Minor, just working on a couple of drill stuff there. But those were individual drills essentially that we were doing that were for punt. And then this is kickoff return. These are individual drills for kickoff return. And I'm going to actually go through these drills on kickoff return. That was kind of what we were best at, but I'm going to show video of some of this stuff. I'm not going to be able to go through all the 4 running units, like the drill work that we did.
Sure.
That would just take too long, but I got some of this stuff for you guys to peek at and how we did it. But so up here, the returners were here. That was the list of them. Gibby had the fullbacks and ends. That was the list of them. This is the transition that we did. This is who was supposed to be there. This is the absorb and restart. This is an 8-minute period. They would flip-flop between absorb and restart and transition halfway through. And then oftentimes the fullbacks and ends, they stayed where they were, but we just started going from a right return to a left return for them halfway through. So that was just an example of how we organized practice. We wanted it to be organized. You don't have much time. We want to make sure kids knew where they were going, what needed to be done. This was shown in the meeting room. This was posted in the locker room, and then this was on our scripts so that way guys could make sure that we had what we needed, where we needed to be. It's a bit of gymnastics for like the new guys. When they'd get on staff, they would be like, holy crap, we got a lot going on here on teams. Like, better know where you're going. And yeah. But that was part of it. I mean, the expectations were set, and I was a big part of that expectation because I wanted our teams to do well. So that gets to this.
Coach, don't mean to cut you off. Could you go back real quick to the very first, I guess it would be number 6, to the first one of those you showed?
Yeah.
Would you talk just a minute or two about what one-step block and own the hip are?
And own the hip. Yeah, exactly. So I don't have those drills like quickly readily available. I'm more than willing to send anybody our drill work. I don't know if I know how to do that. I'm figuring this stuff out. I'll tell you what, I haven't done video in a long, long time, but they forgot to mention I'm the video coordinator too. I'm also the GA. I've been Izio and freaking drawing and stuff. It's awesome. But yeah, so I can try to send that stuff. I got no problem sharing any of this stuff. I've got a bunch of this drill work. I got some Cincinnati stuff from 12. Then I got a couple drill tapes from Tennessee, a couple drill tapes from EKU. I'll share any of this stuff. But so the one-step block, I mean, all that was is we had so I don't know if I can really demonstrate any of this stuff, but so the punter, we had a ball that wasn't, I mean, some people use like volleyballs and stuff, but we had a ball that wasn't inflated. We got a string that like we tied into the grip for the quarterback, and then we tied that string onto a wristband. And so they would literally have that, and they take one step and then just drop the ball and punt it. And then there would be a guy here, and he'd step and take the ball off the punter's foot. So it was just teaching those guys of like, you're at the block point, just taking the ball off the punter's foot. Literally that was it. And it's the darndest thing. I mean, the ball's not fully inflated and so forth, but you could see, you'd get a guy that would do this and he's looking the other way. Well, you know, if he's doing that in a drill where it's a one step and you're not punting it hard, you're pretty confident you know what that thing's going to look like if he gets close to it in a game. Like, that ain't your guy. So there was that. Then the own the hip drill, it was just every 5 yards you'd partner up. And so one guy would be jogging and he would like either turn his shoulders or drop his hips, and that was like the punt cover guy. And you'd be in your trail technique with your hand on the hip, or some people teach the backpack, tug the backpack, however you teach that thing. But you'd be in that trail position. You'd be jogging when his hips sink, your hips sink, and you'd go to block him to the sideline, whatever that term would be for you guys. We call it a finish drill. So that was just own the hip. You were just owning the hip, making sure you're in the back hip pocket. Your hips match his hips. Your shoulders match his shoulders. His shoulders turn. Your shoulders turn. His hips drop. Your hips drop. That was just what we were doing. Now, these changed every day. That's why, like, our specialist period, especially during camp, it was a circus. I mean, it was something different every day because you were during camp. You had your checklist of, like, these are all these drills that we've got to do. We've got to get all this stuff taught somehow, some way. And you're just literally like checking them off. And the important ones you'd highlight and say, hey, we got to make sure we get this at least twice, if not 3 times throughout camp. And so you might be doing those things different times, multiple times. Some of them you're like, hey, we just got to get this in once. We got to make sure we teach it. But this would look different every day. Now, once we got into season, it became a little bit more repetitive as far as what we were doing during that time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great stuff.
Okay. So motivation. So I guess I'm going to ask this. This is the way I always say it. It sounds a little bit sarcastic, but whenever I would get asked to come and speak to at a clinic, or a couple of times I got brought into a staff and they wanted me to talk through teams, I would say, how many boundary guards did you guys sign last year? And I just stopped and said, I said, seriously, in a clinic, somebody tell me how many boundary guards, do we sign? And of course the answer is like, what are you even talking about? Like, none. Like, no, I don't have boundary guard. Yeah, that's my point. Not a single kid on this team besides the actual specialists identifies themselves as a special teams player. They don't. They're freaking running backs. They're X receivers. They're Z's. They're I'm a Mike. I'm a free safety. None of these guys. Hey, what do you play? Nobody's like, I'm the field tackle on kickoff return. They don't. I mean, even the guys that don't play for you on offense or defense. The only time they touch the field is on special teams. You ask them what they play, they don't tell you the special teams position. Only the specialists do. So you don't get confused. Like you gotta find a way to motivate these kids. That is the number one, and that's comment also is going to go forward when I talk about scheme, because you're going to be really underwhelmed. You're going to go, you know nothing. You're not doing any scheme. Yeah, no kidding, we're not. You better figure out a way to motivate the kids on special teams, because they don't give a crap. As a matter of fact, they don't want to play. It's been unfortunate. I've seen kids tanking on purpose to get their tail ripped because they're trying to not be on teams. You're blown away. So you're finding every way you possibly can. So here's a couple things that we did. I'll talk about a couple other things that we did. So this is something we did this past year. Point value system where you got points every week, and there was a different criteria. So we had a week one that kind of had every way that you could get a positive or a negative point and things like that. But this was week by week. So this is our schedule and so forth. So what we said, and the reason these guys are in green, we were the top three guys going to get, bag full of gear. Well, they didn't. I got fired. So, no, they didn't get any gear. But that was what we were going to do. We had like a huge thing of all the different gear they were going to get. And so what it was like a motivation. So you look at the numbers. I don't know why my mouse keeps going away. So look at these numbers. So we had 3 dudes up top, but the third guy at 64, I mean, there's 2 dudes right there on his heels. And as you can see, you can get 14, 15 points in a game. I mean, even them next dudes, like really all those guys in orange, they're all in. I mean, you have a good day and boom, next thing you know, you could have been in that thing. So that was an individual motivation that we had. And I thought it was a positive deal that we did. Weekly awards, we gave away weekly awards. So special teams player of the week, he'd get a t-shirt. And our special teams player of the week was also a captain. He would go out for the coin toss every single week. So we had some freshmen that are out there as captains. Pretty cool deal. I mean, there was a couple of them. I said, listen, man, you are not allowed to speak. You don't even you smile and nod and shake the guy's hand across from you. You're not allowed to talk out there because they're afraid of what they're going to say. But if you played really well on teams, you were getting out there. You got to go out there like a captain. It was a cool deal. So some years we had 4 captains. One of them captains had to stay back, and Johnny freshman got to go out there. Unit of the week would eat first on Friday meals and Saturday meals for any of the meals that went first. They got to go first. So if you were a starter on that unit, boom, you got to go eat first. And then this was big. We did this, and I thought it was kind of stupid at first, just to be honest with you. But helmet stickers, and so you couldn't get a helmet sticker any other way than special teams. So I mean, you got a quarterback that's going straight to the Cincinnati Bengals out of high school. He's the greatest thing that's ever happened. If he doesn't play on special teams, he has 0 stickers on his helmet. But you could have Johnny 4-stringer who just happened to be really good on teams. He might have 30 on his helmet. He looked like he was the stud when the quarterback that's going straight to the NFL didn't have a single sticker on his helmet. So what we did and how we did helmet stickers is we called them attack plays. If attack plays, because I mean at the end of the day, I mean if you it's not about average, it's about impactful plays on teams, in my opinion, and you're exchanging so much real estate here that's how it's big. I mean, whether you start at the ball in the daggone 27-yard line after a kickoff return or the 24, that's irrelevant. But if you pop that ball past the 40, you got a chance to score now. That's how we looked at it. So we're looking for impactful plays, attack plays, and we had a set of standards for each of those units on what those were. If you were on the field for an attack play and you did your job, you didn't have to do a good job, but you just couldn't have completely screwed it up. So on most attack plays, we would have 11, 10 on a bad play, 9 or 8 guys that did their job. I mean, you just had to do your job, not MA essentially, and you'd get a sticker on your helmet. So those are some things that we did as far as motivation. And then we were constantly trying to stress for our guys, like how important it was for next level stuff and things like that. And I certainly, I can tell you this, I certainly am going to do that here. Not so much that, but I mean, you got great opportunities because I mean, these are space plays, and you got great opportunities to make impactful plays that you can put on your highlight film. I mean, you go block a punt. Guess what? I mean, that's a big play for colleges. I mean, I'm watching a film as a college coach, and I'm going, wow, he blocked 3 punts. This is a playmaker. You know, I mean, like that's so those opportunities or guys that are busting their butt on teams, it's a great opportunity to show work ethic and things like that on film. So I think always stressing those things, I think that's a really, really important part of being successful on special teams. I really do.
Coach, would you care to talk a little bit about the criteria you had for your board there, your points board? Like how did you grade that?
Yeah, the points board. Yep. Yeah, I knew. Shoot, I should have put this on here. And I don't want to fumble through this thing. So we had it was a bunch of different stuff. I can send it to you.
Okay.
Can you guys still see my deal?
Yeah.
Can you see what do you guys see this thing here?
I see the board and the PowerPoint.
Okay, cool. Well, I can fumble through this while you guys are still seeing that. So I'll see if I can't find it. So I mean, it was a bunch of different things that we just.
Is this something you plan on using this year?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that a lot of it was good. You know, you just put up values on what you wanted, and so I'll be the first one to tell you, you know, like so that was something that we just started doing this year. Josh Reardon was our special teams coordinator, and that was his thought as far as a motivation thing, and I was great with it. Anytime. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, so I got it. Cool. So okay, let me see if I can get back to sharing my screen again.
Yeah, says you're still on.
Okay. New share. And I need this. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah. Okay. Is
that better?
Yeah, zoom in a little bit more.
Okay, so.
Yep, that's good right there, Coach.
Okay, so this is just what we did, and this is. You know, so it goes unit by unit, right? So you had kickoff. What were the ways that you could get points on kickoff? You know, you got 2 points if you're the leading tackle, if you got the tackle, 1 if you're assist. If it was inside the 20, first of all, that was an attack play. So if it was inside the 20, you personally would get 4 points for that. But every guy on that team would get a helmet sticker if they had done their job, if we tackled the ball inside the 20. Does that make sense? So attack plays and getting helmet stickers were completely different than point plays here that could get you gear at the end of the year. Matt, does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we did that. And so this is just a bunch of different stuff that we did. Now there's a way for specialists to get points too. Then you had over here general, just, you know, I mean, this is just stuff. You're like exceptional effort, you know, dude busts his butt really well. You want to give him an extra 2 points? Great. Nasty. And I'll never forget, like Josh is up there talking about nasty. And he's like, you know, it's nasty. Someone's like, oh, what's a nasty? He goes, I don't really know, but you know what? I think I'll know it when I see it. So do something nasty on the field, and I like it. I'm gonna give you 3 points for it. I mean, it was just making up stuff, man. It was good. So anything to just get the guys going and getting them to want to play special teams. I'll say this, and we did this at Tennessee. It was either my first, I think it was my second year. We started getting in. So I put a board up outside the team room, and it had a ranking. And we did this at EKU for sure after that. I loved it. We had the 4 units, and then we had like the stats, so kickoff return, average return, and then we had efficiency, number percentage that was past the 25, and then we had conference rank and national rank. And the way it worked was it was 4 quadrants: first, second, third, fourth, and we switched them every week. So if you were on a unit, if you were the highest ranked, you were in the upper left. You were the lowest ranked, you were the bottom right. And then we had individual stat sheets. So we had all this stuff in there, tackles and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I mean, when I knew it was good was when, like, I'd stand outside the team meeting room, and there was a crowd of people around it looking at the stats and talking smack to each other like, dude, I told you I got more tackles than you. I was like, yes, this worked. It's worked. This is what you wanted. You had Jalen Reeves-Maben, who's now playing for the Lions, and he's our starting linebacker, and he's talking smack to somebody like, dude, I play on defense and I still got more production than you. You're just like, it was like, this is it. This is doing really well. This is what we want. So we kept that at EKU too. I thought it was really, really positive for us. So.
Obviously, this may be a little extensive to do at the high school level, but I think the idea of it's gold. I think this is something that kids is going to create a little more buy-in for special teams.
No doubt. Yeah, that's it. Exactly right. So next, and I'll get to get to the film here. Okay, screen sharing is stopped. Okay, can you guys see the?
Yep.
Okay.
Huddle.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna go through kind of, and I'm gonna go back to my point of like, how many boundary guards did you sign? Like, again, this isn't what people want to be doing. Like, you hate to say that. There was some, but I mean, by and large, like that was not what was everybody's first intention was, like, not like, hey, how can I start on special teams? So that being said, we fit the same thing schematically then too. Well, guess what? Like this kickoff return or this pump block or whatever it might be the greatest thing in the world, this scheme. But the reality of it is if we can't get lined up, that's a problem. So we were simple Simon. I mean, we were simple Simon on all of our units. Now punt return's always a pain in the butt because you got to adjust to what they're doing. But we had a set deal as far as a return. We were a middle return team. That's what we did. We maybe a couple times had a right or left, but like I'm talking and this went all the way back to Central Michigan. I mean, we led the country in punt return average. I was the punt return coach there. We led the country in punt return average in 2008. And every return was middle. That's it. Nothing else. No, we didn't go right. We didn't go left. We didn't do anything fancy. It was you got that guy and it's middle. So that was it. And kickoff return again. This past year, until we played Jacksonville State at the end of the year, because they never kicked the ball deep the whole year. Like, they didn't kick the ball deep. They squibbed and skied everything. So I was like, well, that doesn't fit what we do. We had to change things for them because they were just so oddity. But up until Jacksonville State, the 12th game of the year, for 11 games, we had one call on kickoff return. One, sideline right or sideline tag 4. That's it. And we have boundary people, field people. That's it. We're third in the country in kickoff returns. So, that's what we were. We're simple as simple could be. But what we were going to do is our guys were going to know what they were doing. There They were going to technique it up, and that's it. I mean, I think a lot of times guys can't execute because they just don't know what they're doing. And so you get to the video. Hopefully I can keep it big. But so some of this stuff, this is drill work. I took some from Tennessee, some from EKU, and so forth. Can y'all see this stuff?
Yep.
Okay. So kickoff return, this is transition to power. So the next couple drills, these drills are all frontline single blocks on kickoff return. It's almost irrelevant. I'm not necessarily getting into like, I can absolutely talk about every little bit of technique of this stuff. I guess the point of this is that it shows that it's just like an offensive lineman. If you're trying to teach that guy to pass set, the different aspects, it's not a whole all encompassing, well, okay, we're working the whole pass set all at once. You know, I mean, there's a kick slide, there's an angle to your set, there's a body position, there's all these things. There's a strike. Then there's, you know, all the things that go with that. So we teach everything. We try to break down all the techniques very similarly. And I'm taking kickoff return because I thought that this is probably the hardest play in football, in my opinion, because there's so much space and you're in a block for somebody that's 40 yards behind you with your back to them, and there's a bunch of space, and that dude's running full speed down the field. So, you know, these are the techniques that we taught on that. But so this is a frontline guy on a one-on-one block. And, you know, again, this is not me on that film. This is my unit. This is everything I'm teaching. This is not me. As Larry Knight right there is now down at Georgia Tech coaching the defensive line. That's him because he was our field side tackle and field side guard coach, you know. And so he's working his tail off coaching those guys. That was his job. You know, I can't coach this drill and then coach the other drill. You know, I can't do that. So we broke all that stuff up. And so that was just our transition to power. You clear the kick, you're stealing second base, you're peeking at the returner, you're drawing a string, and then you're transitioning from a speed position, a running position, to a power position, which is what he's in right there. That's what this drill was. So this drill was, boom, transition. He cleared the kick, which you'll see in the next drill. He was peeking the returner back there. We oftentimes would have a coach back there giving a number so that he'd have to call it the number, like he was peeking at the returner. And then he was transitioning to a power position and slowly sinking with a wide base right there. That was the first part of what we taught, what we called a deadbolt block, which was a single one-on-one frontline block. So
that's good stuff.
So this is, you know, again, just another drill with it. This is now at EKU. Who wants to play at Tennessee versus EKU? I mean, just looking at these things. It looked like it was about 75 degrees and sunny at Tennessee. It was beautiful. This is like freaking 2 degrees and snow, and I couldn't believe it. So we're doing this again. So now we're just doing 2 at a time. So you can see we got somebody doing a terrible job of demonstrating clearing the kick. So it wasn't there's no signal to start this thing. You started when he kicked, you know, there's no ball, but when he kicked, that was when you started, because that's what we told him to do, clear the kick. You exit when you see the ball kicked. You are stealing second base. This is a turn and sprint. Ricky Henderson, man, 130 stolen bases in whatever year that was, 85. You know, you are stealing second. Roll, man. Peeking the returner. So down here, that was me. Sometimes I would be giving a number, you know. Sometimes I didn't, you know, but they need to be peeking the returner. Why? Because that's how you draw your string. String is the straight line between your man and the returner. You need to have return side leverage on that string. That's how we taught this stuff. But then they transition, and then we wanted that sled or the chute there so that they were in a good body position. Had a base, they're slowly sinking underneath that. It's not a DB back pedal. It is a slowly sink pedal. So that's the drill that we did for that. Couple examples, boom, boom. That's the first part of that drill. Dang it. Okay, now we're drawing a string. This is from Tennessee. So again, you know, Larry Knight's teaching that. I'm involved in this one at this point. So this guy right here, he's the returner. We had guys running down towards that. You were taking an angle. We didn't tell them where it was on the field. You were taking an angle, so you were drawing a string. You had to have return side leverage, left leverage on those guys. Whether they did a good job of it or not, I was there to try to get a peek at that. So that's what we're explaining right here as we go. Again, reminding them of the deal. Jalen Hurd, Peralto Urta. So we actually even took the guy running down the field out of it, just draw a string. So again, this guy right here was our returner, and that's where I'm literally sitting there saying, hey, did you have return side leverage on your string? Look at your string. And so that's what we did. We'd have return side leverage. So this is just keeping a right or a left leverage on that guy. So we'd already transitioned. Now I'm sinking, but as that guy weaves to the right or weaves to the left, I'm going to weave with him in my sink.
Are you guys practicing on an ice rink there?
Yeah, absolutely. We're picking the nice days. But this is just, giving ground, keeping leverage. That's what it was. So some of this is good. There's some good and some not so good. So then we were absorbing and restarting. And again, this is probably the most intensive of the drills. Like some of punt, it was, hey, your disrupt this charge and release, and then you had your coverage lane stuff that you did. But those were all broken up that way. But it was frontline blocking and then coverage stuff. But this is probably as intensive as it gets. But we're absorbing, we're restarting our feet to stop him from driving us back into the returner. And then as the ball crosses, we're going to restart our feet and then rip and run to finish. So this was our absorb and restart. Absorb. As you feel he starts to retrace because the ball went north and south, you go. And again, I'll go back. And again, this is my deal. But, that's Walter Stewart right there. That's Zach is somewhere around here. Zach Azani is over here coaching these guys. So, these are, it's not just me doing this stuff. That's those guys running these drills, coaching it, because that's the only way that you're going to get good at this stuff is if every little technique is getting coached the right way and so forth. So then this was our competitive drill. So we tried to do part, and then competitive, and then whole. So this is kickoff guys going hard. This is working both kickoff and kickoff returns. This is our fly zone. So the return guy, we're working from the sideline, different angle, but he's stealing second, transitioning to a power position, slowly sinking. And then there's two dots. I don't know if you can see them there and there and there that the kickoff guy is trying to get through, and the kickoff return guy is trying to keep him from getting to him. So this is a competitive drill. And sometimes we would score it and have a little prize for the winner. Sometimes we didn't, but yeah, that was what we did. So this was like the one-on-one version of that.
So Coach, when you're doing that, when you have to transition to that power position and get your hands inside, do you have any pointers on keeping your kids' hands inside to where, you're not getting a block in the back or anything like that? Or just a way to take on that block?
Yeah. So one thing we talked about, so we would always absorb. I know some people don't believe in that stuff, but we were absorbing this thing. So we were trying to get our hands inside. It wasn't we weren't initiating contact. We were absorbing that contact. So, and you had to be careful with that stuff because if if they just ran down and put their face right down the middle of your chest and you fall on your butt, you can't rip them for it because it's like, well, okay, great. I'm going to set up shop and I'm going to try to, knock this guy's head off next time. Well, that's great. In space with the guy running full speed, good luck. You're going to miss 9 out of 10 times. So that's where we were giving ground. We were absorbing. They were going to get knocked back. Even if you got run over, just as long as you run over slow, die a slow death. Those are all things that we were trying to make sure that we would talk about, do not set up shop. This is not a big hit. If you get it hit hard, that's one thing, but this is not, you're not delivering a blow here. You are absorbing this guy.
Okay.
So we'd sink, and then after you've absorbed and you've sunk, now you're starting to try to bow up a little bit, but that's after you've already taken a little bit of it in the chin. Some people don't like to hear that stuff, but that's fine. You do it your way, we'll do it ours, and I like our stats. They speak for themselves. So that's how we do it. I mean, I don't have anything fantastic as far as, keeping hands inside. I mean, other than keep hands inside, I don't say it the way, like, I don't have anything great other than, like, when we would show this, I mean, we would try to coach that. So we filmed, that's what I was going to say. So we filmed this from different areas. So, because you get different, you get different points at different areas. Like the other area, you could see a big picture of this, whereas you film from down here the next time, you got to see whether or not this guy, like I'm good with that. His hands in the breastplates, hands on the side of the shoulder. Like, you're probably not going to, if you don't see a restraint of pulling that right hand, you're not going to get called for that. Now, if that right hand was all the way on this far shoulder, you get called for that. So that's why we film from different angles, different days, try to hit different points on that stuff.
And I think that kind of answers the question I was asking, because sometimes with high school kids, they might try to grab on the back of the jersey or get those arms extended, and that's not something you want to give a penalty on a kickoff return.
Yeah. And we tried to emphasize that as far as like how, it's better to let a guy free than to make a penalty, because they're going to call a penalty every time. There's so much space involved too that it's so easy to see this stuff. Like, let the playmaker, the ball in his hands in space, make a play, as opposed to you thinking that block that nobody's going to see when you're just in a wide open space and you yank a guy to the ground. Like, it's going to get called every time, and the ball goes backwards every time. And you don't want it to be the play that, hey, we score on a big kickoff return, but you're the jerk that yanked the guy to the ground on the backside of the play. It didn't matter. So again, I'll buzz through this stuff because, again, I can go through the details of this stuff or not. Like, this is a terrible execution of what we were looking for in this double team right here. But it's more so about the drill of, like, how we segmented. To me, that's because we're going to do things different than each one of you guys do. We're going to have a different scheme. We're going to have a different whatever. But I guess what I always try to emphasize, why I think we were successful and why I think anybody can be successful doing whatever it is that you guys do, if you just break down what are the different skills that we teach with our scheme, and then break those skills into drills. So this is a double team. Well, what's the first part of the double team is, what's the most important part? That before you worry about anything, you better get set up. Now, you can't do this in college anymore. But that's irrelevant. That's not the point. Like, you can still double. You can't set up like this anymore. But that's irrelevant. The point is like, this is a skill set that we needed taught. We needed them to be able to double team. So we were going to break that double team into a handful of different pieces, just part whole. So the first part of that is the setup. And so for us, we were looking for the post player, that guy to nose up, and then we were looking for the clean player to come in from the outside in. Now, the way we taught it, this is terrible. I mean, the clean player stacking the posts, like that's why this box is here. He should be coming in from the outside in towards that thing, as opposed to stacking him, and now he's closed up on him. I mean, yes, the technique's terrible as far as that stuff is concerned. The way that they changed this so that now the post player here, you can't hit him at the same time. So what we did is we had him get back here and then wait with the new rule. If the guy went this way, he would fold behind. If he came this way, he would set up shop, and then he would fold behind. That was how we changed it over time, because they changed the rule. But regardless, the point is that, and there's no rocket science to this, we just broke down our drills. Like, what are skill sets that need to be taught? So let's teach them. So this is just going through it. So now we have double team fly zone. I'm sorry, we double team fold. So this was because you oftentimes get somebody that is going to hard avoid. So we were teaching them how to avoid. So he avoided hard. He was going to try to make contact, and he was going to fold. Like that. That was what we were looking for, approximately. Got him out of the lane. Fantastic. That's what we were looking for. So now, if he avoided this direction, as soon as his color crossed the shoulder of that guy, he was allowed to fold now. You couldn't fold too early because at this point, he could easily counter back right now. You had to wait. Now you could see it. Now you better fold behind that thing and go. We taught this. They knew it was coming, and I know, they know the fold's coming, but you're drilling this is how you teach a fold. This is how you teach. And I thought that was really good right here. This guy has some patience. He doesn't just run over there until he sees color. Now he's like, okay, I got to go. But that was how we taught a double team. And again, all the issues that came up with it. I mean, and I'll be honest, we made stuff up. If we got a new issue, that's a great job again. This guy doesn't just run and fold. Why? Because even though this guy started to go this direction, he didn't cross the shoulder. So you better not fold behind, you get split back. So he does a good job of that. And now he starts to fold late. That's a good job. But again, we took what we saw those positions running into, what are the issues, and ran it and drilled them. If something new came up that we never run into before, we're like, oh shoot, well, if this is something that shows up 3-4 times, we better figure out we better make up a drill for this then. That's it. Just like every drill, that was how they all started, I think. Oh, we're having trouble with this. Well, better make up a drill to figure it out, to coach it. Or if you do something, here's the other thing. You do something that's awesome on film that you've never drilled, drill it so then you can put the drill on there and then put the clip afterwards and make it look like you're a smart coach. That's another good one. So these are just some of the things. Moving on to double team fly zone. This is the competitive. So this is now these guys, 21 here, although it doesn't look like it. He's actually trying to win. He's trying to get between those cones, and we're trying to keep him from that. So, okay. I'll move on to next. So we did, ambush fly zone. So this is just another completely different deal. So this is somebody that was an ambush block. So this is an ambush block was nosing a guy up, and then you had to take him whichever way he wanted to go. He was a backline guy. So we just made this drill up. So he was going to come over here, nose him up, take him whichever way he wants to go. That was what we taught that guy. We don't do this anymore, but I guess the point of this is the drill. So we were drilling that right there to work on this technique, because otherwise if you're just doing it twice a day on the 2 team reps they get, you're not going to get very good at it. So this was the drill that we did. Nose him up, take him whichever way you want him to go, keep him outside of the cones. Tandem, this was our back end. Again, we part whole. We put them together already, and we would teach. We had 2 different calls. This changed because you can't tandem anymore, but this is what we taught. We put them together, and then we gave them a wing, 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 block the wing. And you'd give them an even call. Even, even, even. So they would communicate that even, 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 and then they'd block the even. Then you'd move on to the next drill, which was putting the whole thing together. So now they had to sprint over, come together, get the spacing, the fullback had to have the proper spacing between him and the returner there. Once they got that, we would go. Now we got the 2 guys coming. That was a wing, wing, wing call, and they blocked the wing. These didn't have to be 100% every single time. It's not like you're trying to just knock heads every time, but it was getting trying to get the right technique, the right setup, and so forth, and so on. So again,
you guys obviously run a lot of drill work. You say you only do one or 2 live reps full of team. Like, so you do KO once or twice?
Yep. So when we get into season, again, we run the same return every time, right? So when we get into season, how we did it was you have a 5-minute period. And so you did 4 reps, 4 full cover reps. You did 2 with the 2s and 2 with the 1s. So the way we did it was 2s were up first. And so 2s went, and we couldn't actually kick off because at Tennessee we had enough guys that were good, but at EKU we didn't have enough kickers that were good enough. They'd screw you every time, so they kicked the ball like 30 yards and out of bounds, and you'd want to choke them. So you'd have to put the ball in the returner's hands or whatever, but you would run a full return, full cover down with the scout team and run the return, and then the 1s would jump out there. The reason we went 2s first was because if the scout team screwed it up, you didn't want to waste the rep with the 1s, so you did the 2s first. So if they screwed it up, you coached, the people that are coaching the scout team on their way back, they were coaching those guys up. So the 1s got a good look. So it was card 1 with the 2s, card 1 with the 1s, card 2 with the 2s, card 2 with the 1s. That's Tuesday. You got 2 reps. So that's why all this drill work that we did in spring ball and in camp, and frankly, we did this stuff in the summer. I mean, like, again, when I say we did darn near practices, this is skill development. We did twice a week, 10 minutes of skill development for special teams, or 20 minutes. I can't remember what it was, but it was 20 minutes twice a week during the summer, skill development with this stuff. There's no football. That's running, that's conditioning. That's how we did that. So we did this stuff all summer. That's how you got good at this, at the drill stuff, because once you get into season, it's like, yeah, that technique stuff's great, but guess what? I mean, everybody's like, you better be able to line up and run the scheme of it. Well, that's why this stuff was so critical in those other times, in spring ball, to get good at your skills. In bye week, if you had a bye week, you did stuff. But camp, I mean, you had to get your reps in during that time to do that stuff. So, and on top of that, that's why, you go back to run the same stuff over and over. I mean, some people put in like 2 different, they'll be like, hey, we're going to run 2 different kickoff returns this week, and they're brand new. Well, you're getting 2 reps at each one. I mean, I sit there and say, the guy that plays your boundary center or your right center, whatever you call it, I mean, is he going to even remember which guy he has for those new returns if it's something different every week? Like, he might MA but not know he MA'd. He might have thought he was blocking the right guy. He might forget. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. This week I'm blocking 4. I forgot. My bad. Well, that statement would never be said. Never be said for us. Why? Because the boundary center blocked 5 every time. If you were the boundary center for freshman year through your senior year, you blocked 5 forever. So you never MA'd. You know what I mean? Like, nobody ever MA'd. And that was how we did it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that was how we did it. So what we tried to do was make sure that you knew how to block them, because you were going to make sure you knew what you were doing. Then we were trying to how it better than the guy across from us, essentially, in all of our units. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, I can keep going through this stuff as far as what we did. These are some of these drills that we did. Go to the next one. So this is, I want to say, this might be spacing. So, yep. So this is just the spacing. So we had our setup. Spacing of our return was really important. 15 yards between the fullback and the returner. 7 yards between the off returner and the returner. He needed to be offset slightly to the big field. This was the new setup. We could not come together. So they were on the same yard marker. He was going to come and kick out 3. He was going to come behind him one way or the other to get 2. He was going to influence 3, come behind him, and block 1. Off returner was bonus. he was running at the inside hip of his fullback, not the off returner. Don't pay attention to him. And we were going to hit there and then bounce it to the sideline. Sorry, that's not supposed to be there. Inside hip of the fullback and then go. This is it. This is how we did it. So we worked on that spacing a ton. So this is very much a jog through at best drill, but it's to get this all done. So again, they can't come together, same yard marker, look at his hip. When he goes, you go. Influence 3. Came right off of 3's ass. You're trying to get him to widen the hole. This is the hole that you're going to hit. Go block 1, kicking out 3, kicking out 2. Run to the inside hip of that guy, and then bounce it to the sideline and go score a touchdown.
Is the returner given a go call to those two guys?
No. See his eyes?
Yeah.
So fullback looking at the returner, off returner looking at the returner.
Okay.
And looking at the hip of his fullback. You go and he goes. So when the ball is caught, I mean, he probably left a hair bit early, but the fullback did, lost his eyes, but the ball is caught, go. That was how we taught it. So, I can get into the specifics of that stuff of what we did. I could draw it all up if you want. Our return, we're not going to do the same return here. I don't know that we'll get the ball placement that we want. Like our return was really good, but we felt like we were getting the ball placement that we wanted. If we were going to return it, I don't know that we'll get enough. I don't know if we will or won't get the ball placement that we want to run this return. We're gonna change it up a little bit.
Yeah, it gets a little bit messy.
Heart.
Gets a little bit messy in high school.
Right, I know it breaks my heart because I take a ton of pride in this. I mean, we broke an NCAA record 2 years later at a different school with different returners. We finished first in the country. 2 years after that with a different returner, we finished third. I mean, I had a ton of pride in it, but I just don't. It's not going to be the best thing for us here. So I got to adjust and adapt, and we'll do something different. But I hope this is the point of it is it might be underwhelming as far as scheme. We do the same thing. But I guess the point of it is I think that what has made us successful on special teams is our kids know what they're doing. They're motivated to do it. We get on and play hard. They buy into wanting to do it well because we put a lot of emphasis on the motivation part of it. And then we teach them how to do it well. I think, I'm going to pat myself on the back with that as far as like we spent the time, I guess not because we're any super coach or anything, but we spent the time to teach them not just, hey, you got 5, but here also, how are you going to block them? Just like I think that's really important for anything. But I think that's something that really separates special teams people is some people, it's all like, well, you got this guy, you got this guy, you got this guy. That's great, but you would never just go out there and tell an O-lineman who he's blocking. I mean, you would go out there and coach him how to do it. You'd never just say, tackle the ball carrier, like you go out there and you teach him how to tackle a guy, how to, block, destruct, all those things. You teach them how. And I think so much of special teams, that's something that gets missed is guess what? These kids don't know how to do these things. And not unless we teach them. And then after you teach them, you got to drill it. That's how they get good at it. That's what we did. I thought we were successful because we taught them how, and then we drilled how, and we segmented it just like you would segment any other position. So,
yes, this is really good stuff. Obviously, as you know, special teams is the most glossed over at the high school level, and I think the level of detail and nuance that I've even got from hearing your talks has been, it's going to make me a better coach. I think it's going to make anyone who listens to this a better coach.
Do you guys have any questions? I can keep going. I mean, this is kind of what I had presented. I have drill work for every unit, but
yeah, Coach. I'm not to interrupt or anything, but I do have a question. How many, obviously on punt and how many fakes do you typically carry into a game or, even into a season? is it kind of similar to your philosophy on special teams of we're going to be simple, so we're going to have the same fakes and we're just going to get really good at them, or are we going to adjust every week and be able to, carry something different based on what they're giving us?
Yeah, so how many fakes? We never went in with more than one. I mean, to be honest, we per unit, and I don't even think there might have been one. Actually, there was 1 week that we went in with two, I want to say, to a game. We didn't run them both, but I'm talking total fakes. I think we had one week we had a fake field goal, and the 1 week we had a fake punt installed for that week. And I don't even remember if we might have not run either one of them. I can't remember. But there will be numerous weeks where we go in with nothing. No fakes, 0 fakes. And I guess a couple reasons would be, and maybe that's ill-equipped, I don't know. But a couple reasons would be is so like we got a fake field goal I love. We've called it twice, scored 2 touchdowns on it. One of them helped us win a game. It was great. It doesn't work against everything though. It just doesn't. So if there's a look, if you give me the look, I mean, I'm looking for it too. I got a couple I got up my sleeve. I guess that's what I think is important. So when you look at that stuff, to me, it's kind of having a base knowledge of what is it that you're looking for. Like fake field goal, I've got probably like 4, I guess I'd say, that I really like. I've only called the one in a game. I've called that one twice, but I've got a couple other ones that I like. But you can't just call them to call like, oh man, we need a fake right now, let's call it. Like that's disaster, waiting to happen, in my opinion. You got to know whether you got the look or not, and or you got a good chance at the look at least. I mean, so like when we called the fake field goal, we called it against Missouri when I was at Tennessee, scored on it, and then we called it against SEMO right down here in this corner right there, and scored on it. And when it was SEMO, like we felt like we had the look on, like it was 80-something%. I did the numbers, 80-something%, and you had to see because they ran a different block on field goal block versus extra point block, but you knew that, so you had to study the crap out of it. So I studied the crap out of it. It was like, we got this. If it's field goal, we got it, because they're like 90-something%. I think they had like one look that didn't work. Because our O-line coach, who like kind of ran that unit, he's like, I don't like the look. I go, dude, you're looking at extra point blocks on field goal. That this is what we're getting. So we had it in, and we ran it in that scenario. But that thing would be a stuffed up our tail 9 games out of 10, because it you needed a certain look for it. So I guess I've got about 4, maybe 5 field goal fakes that I know, but hey, we need this look for this one. We need this look for this one, or something basically that looks like that. And then, oh wow, we got it. Okay, let's practice that this week. Or if you don't have it, then you don't. So same thing with punt, but we're a little bit. We just change up our formation enough. We can probably more so make something up. But I think about a punt, you're calling a little bit more of like, this could be a disaster, because if you change your look up, unless you're just 3 shield 3x3 and you've seen that on film a bunch and you know what you're going to get. I mean, everybody's a little bit different because the punts are so, everybody's formations are different. You don't really know what you're going to get. So you're just trying to kind of hope that it's going to work and put the ball in the right guy's hands and so forth. But that's how I see it.
Thank you. I agree. I mean, I think it's definitely we're very similar in the fact that we want to see certain looks. Obviously, forever getting a safe, we obviously want to call everything off, and very similar in that regard.
Now punt, I think it's different because you don't know. But on field goal, I mean, sure, you should know. Yeah, you got a pretty good idea. I mean, like everybody runs the same field goal, right? I mean, so I mean, you got a pretty good idea that like, hey, I either got the look or I don't. On punt, I mean, it's a gamble, but it's what makes it fun.
Well, you got me wanting to. I'm probably gonna pull up some film here. You got me wanting to see this fake field goal now.
You might have been there. I being a really, really smart coach, I stole it straight from Spartan land up in East Lansing when they ran it against Notre Dame.
Okay. Yep.
Run it a little bit different, but not much. I mean, it's the block out, fold.
Yep.
We hit the fold guy.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys hit the block out and wheel guy. Were you on that team? Trevor, I'm talking to you. Want to try? Hello?
I don't know what happened to him. He's not muted.
I don't know. But I couldn't remember if you were on that team or not. But, yeah, the one that ran against Notre Dame at the end of the game for the win. I mean,
I was breaking up there. I was trying to say, that was actually one of my visits. That was one of my visits up there, but definitely know it very well. We tried to run it previous times after that, and it didn't quite work out for us. We got some looks that we wasn't prepared for, so I know what you're talking about there. But the only other question I had, Coach, is kind of just going off of a kickoff return. Something we bounced back and forth on a lot is what kind of – like, do you believe in 5-man front and like a 4 with 2 staggered, a 6-man front? What's your philosophy on that?
That's what we've been. I love what we do. I mean, I do. I love what we've done. But I don't think that's I don't think we're running anything. We're certainly not running anything schematically like, oh, wow. Like, look at how great they are. I mean, we run a 6-man front. You got the 4 and then the 2. And we double 4 every time. And then we double forward the tackle and the guard. That's what we've done. We block our centers on 5s. Field guard. Now we're field and boundary. So you put the ball in the left hash, our boundary people go to the left. If you put the ball in the right hash, our boundary people go to the right. Because boundary people double team. Boundary guard and tackle, they double team. They don't ever deadbolt block anybody. So they don't know how to do it. They double. So they do. If we rep it 100 times, they get 100 reps of doubles. Our field guys, they get 100 reps of singles. So not double teaching anything, but that's what we do. Our centers go 5, and then our field guard gets 4, and our field tackle, we will flip up who he gets. Sometimes we'll tell him 3. Sometimes we'll say first guy down. I mean, we'll change him up a hair bit, but that's not a critical block. We're basically just trying to get him in the way of some people. And then we influence 3 to go block 1 with our boundary side end. We tandem block 2 and 3, and we run a power play. I mean, we're kicking out, we're double teaming at the point, kicking out the people outside of that point, and we're walling off the other side. We're running power on kickoff return is what we're doing, just like everybody else. Now, I do think we do a couple things different. We set up our we did set up our double team pretty far north and south, and we used to set it up at the 38. And then this past year or two, we just that guard didn't retreat at all. We set it up at the 45. We're trying to create a vertical crease in the defense. So we set that thing up pretty far downfield, and then we transition our centers between the 35 and the 40, which is way further away from the returner than what most people do, but we're a retreat team. So we were trying to create a vertical crease with the double team so that there was a lane to run through. And then wall the guys off on the backside. But we do. We're probably a little different than most people. We set up so far away from the returner, much further than most people. And I mean, people make their arguments, and I get it. I get what people argue about. Like, there's so much space and time to be able to get beat. And I agree. I don't disagree with that. But we've been pretty good with how we've done it.
Absolutely. Now, I think the social norm is now you're going to be kicking from a hash and trying to condense the field. But if you get a team, especially at the high school level, kicking from the middle and kind of just sporadic on where they try to pin the ball, you're just going to scheme it up and say, hey, guys, this team we're going right. We're going to put our double team on the right every time. So essentially our boundary guys, even though it isn't technically the boundary, or vice versa.
Great question. So, yeah, so you're getting into my nightmare stuff. So, yeah, putting the ball in the middle of the field and kicking the ball right or left is I hate that. So we, particularly Tennessee, just because I had the time. That's what I spent my time with, studying the heck out of it. So you look for everything. I would chart. I charted everything. So we started. So if it came down to it, and there was no difference, then we just charted where did he kick more, right or left, and we put the double over there. And they were, because we were pretty good at that point, like they were lining up, looking at where we were setting up, and then we flip-flopped, and then they flip-flopped and they kicked opposite. So that hurt us. No question. I hated that. But that was always tough, but we would chart everything. So I would chart people, like who the jersey numbers were, because they put the ball in the middle of the field. Some teams, they thought they were sneaky, but then like they had a guy that was really good or two guys who were really good. Well, they put them over to where they were kicking. I was like, awesome. So we knew they were putting the ball in the middle, and we're like, find jersey 37. That's the boundary this week. So we'd take the field, we'd wait, and you'd have to look at the huddle too and how they config their huddle, the whole deal. But if 37 was in the front, we were boundary to the right. If 37 was in the back, we were boundary to the left. So we would study all that stuff to try to see if there's something. If there was nothing, like Alabama had nothing, they had right people and they had left people, and that was it. They put the ball in the middle. They ended up switching and going to Ohio State's deal where they put everybody in the boundary and tried to maze it and twist and do all that stuff, which I was great with. I was fine with people doing that stuff. I hated ball in the middle, but before they switched to the way Ohio State did it, they were a nightmare for us. So yeah, if they kicked it opposite, we were hoping it was going in the end zone, and we were gonna take a 25. Now, if with the new fair catch rule in college, if they kicked it opposite and deep, we were going to fair catch that thing and just take it to 25.
Now, before the rule, I played, obviously, I was on kickoff return in college, and we ran a very similar right double R4. We're kicking out, and then we're up and through on number one late, because, number one's typically a container fold player. But if they went opposite, as a fullback, we'd make a call, and what we'd do is our kickouts would actually go the opposite way. Those blocks are now trying to square up, and we're just going to take it vertical up that side and get what we can. Is that something you'd do, something similar to that? Yep.
So with our return, so we ran the same thing, and that's why I think you gotta you do less, because there's so much other stuff coming up. So yeah, if we got kicked, so the way we did it, if the ball was here, if the ball was kicked deep to this 2/3 of the field, we're running the return. If the ball is here and it was kicked short, if it was a squib, if it was a sky, or deep opposite. I shouldn't say I said ball there. I guess I'm just saying if it was a right return, boundary right, if they kicked a sky squib or deep opposite where it went into the other third, we were now adjusting. And what did that mean? Now adjust meant transition, frontline guys, transition right now. You got the same people, but you are getting in a ball-me-man relationship. Absorb and redirect your guy now. You're not looking for a kill shot, but you are transitioning to a power position. Transition immediately, and then run your deadbolt block right then. There was only one guy that had a different assignment. That was the boundary tackle. He no longer was double teaming 4. And this is on paper. About halftime he did, because he may not have noticed it, because he was so locked in on running to the guard anyway. Everybody else should have noticed it, because they had to peek the returner. They should see the returner. This dude here would be sprinting that direction, which would go bells and whistles. This is a now adjust. Our fullback put his arms out. We used to wind it, and then they called a fair catch on us one time, and so we put them out, and we are now adjusting. Our fullbacks and ends rules were ball or MDM, get in front of the ball. So fullbacks and ends, if it was a now adjust, now, if you're fielding the ball, catch that thing and get north and south. If you're not fielding the ball, get in front of the ball. Run over there. Get in front of the ball. And then, yes, Trevor, we were doing the same thing. We were taking the thing north and south, get what you could get. I didn't mind that if they put the ball in the middle or put the ball in the hash, because oftentimes what you were getting, you weren't getting a bunch of deep kicks. A little bit in the SEC, because they got dude kickers that can actually get it in the end zone, but you get a lot of sky kicks. Yeah. And if that thing is going to our off returner, I was good. Like, yeah, go ahead. Kick the thing to our off returner. We'll field the ball at the 15. And we only need 11 yards to be good, right? I mean, get in front of, get body on body. Plus, they're all spaced out. I mean, if the ball's on this hash and they kick the thing this way, even if you got 6 guys here and over, that's a lot of green grass, man. You know, I mean, even if you're 6x4 to the field 6, it's a lot of green grass. So I was great. Like, put the ball. Jacksonville State did that because we shoved it up their tail. I mean, they kicked our – I mean, they beat us by 100 that year, it felt like. But so I don't want to say it's the wrong way. But, like, on kickoff return, that was about the only thing we did well that year against them. We kind of took it up their tail. So they started sky kicking. Well, we had our other running back over there, and we took it up their tail again that way. So, you know, so I was good with that. And then at Tennessee, you know, our guy, so Evan Berry was the deep guy. He was really, really good. And we were, I mean, just everything was clicking for us that year. So we were afraid that they were going to start sky kicking to our end over here. And that was usually like a tight end type of guy. So we did end up putting a guy named Alvin Kamara there. And we said, yeah, go for it, guys. You know, like, have at it. Sky kick it to that guy. Let's see how that turns out for us. You know what I mean? So so I don't normally change up personnel very much, because you just don't get many reps at stuff. But because we were averaging, like, at that point, like 37 yards of return, we were just killing it at that point. And so I knew people were going to start sky kicking it. And I was like, we had like Ethan Wolf, who was a heck of a tight end, but like, it was like kick the ball deep to Evan Berry or kick the ball to Ethan Wolf on a sky kick. And it was like, you knew they were going to start kicking the ball to Ethan Wolf. So we put Alvin over there, and that deterred people from doing that sky kick naturally.
Yes. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions? You know, I know here we'll have some, and Coach, if you wouldn't mind, you know, I know you said you'd be willing to reach out to people. We could maybe get an email that we could post on this video when we put it on YouTube. I think that's where we're getting majority of our feedback from. A lot of people are going on and watching them. So I'm sure there'll be people contacting you or wanting to contact you. But thank you, Coach. We really appreciate you coming on. I know it helped me out a lot. You know, this is the phase of the game that I want to get more invested in, and I know that us as a staff, this is what we're trying to do. We're definitely on this day in and day out, and it won us a lot of games this year. So I appreciate you taking time to talk to us.
Yeah, hopefully it was positive and get some out of it. And yeah, I'll share any stuff that we got drill wise. More than willing to share any of that stuff. I just might need a little coaching up on how to send that stuff. I'm not sure if I know how to do all that right now.
We'll do anything we can to help you too, Coach.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Anybody? Last call. Any questions? Matt, you good?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Coach. This was super informative.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Coach Elder. signing off, guys. Thank you again. We appreciate it. It was awesome.
Hey, Coach Elder, before you get off here, I'm gonna. What's the best email address for you? I'm gonna shoot you an email. I'd love for you to share that huddle presentation with us, and then your PowerPoint, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and I got some. Can you guys see this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I got. I mean, some of the stuff isn't my stuff. Like I was talking to Mason the other day, and he sent me. They do a really nice job. I think the University of Cincinnati does a really nice job with their pump block stuff. I mean, if anybody's looking for, I really like how they drilled it too. They did a way better job than I ever did as far as drilling pump block stuff. I thought that they were really good at that. But so I'd hit up Brian Mason if you're looking for pump block stuff. Cause I think they're at a high level. But yeah, I got no problem. I can send. I got a couple different Tennessee drill tapes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put a request to you from Madeira's account. If you want to send me all those special teams drills, and I see on there the tackling circuit and then the Hail Mary defense, that would be awesome too. I just want to look at it. I know we use a lot of Ohio State's tackling stuff, so I'm always.
Yeah, I got to look through all that stuff. So yeah, well, I'll throw this out before I get off. This is something that I picked up from somebody. I can't remember who it was, and so for those of you that are head coaches that get or can convince your head coach to do this, this is really beneficial for safety, but then also for teams. We did team tackling, and we did it almost every day. And so O-line and quarterbacks were not involved, but everybody else was. And so you were teaching every single guy on the team to tackle. And I thought it was good for safety because I'll never forget Gene Pitts. We're at Central Michigan. Gene's a fantastic young man, and he was a wide receiver for us, and he went down and hurt his neck. I mean, he didn't not paralyzed or nothing, but hurt his neck on a tackle on punt because he's one of the gunners. I mean, natural position for a receiver to play, beat a guy on press and then run down the field. But tackling's not. And he didn't tackle right and hurt his neck. I think if I remember right, that ended. I mean, I don't think he's going to play in the NFL or anything, but he didn't play football anymore. And so that was something we did. We ended up, I mean, it was almost every day, not every day just because it got monotonous, but we did tackling drills, and we did it every day with every position except for quarterbacks and O-line. And I thought that was picked it up from somebody. I can't remember who it was, but I thought that was great for us. I thought it helped us get better as tacklers on defense. I thought it helped us because we ended up using that as our a lot of times our tackling stuff on defense too. So so we did that, but then I thought it helped us on teams too. You got offensive guys running around and they don't ever tackle. So we did that. And so we did all that, the new rugby style tackle. We taught everybody that stuff, man. I thought it was great. Mm-hmm. So one last little pointer, one last thing that I thought was pretty neat that we incorporated in that I thought was helpful.
It's awesome. And, whenever this quarantine stuff dies down, if you would want, I'll buy you a beer, myself and my special teams coordinator, or we can come over or whatever. I mean, we're 5 minutes away, down in Madeira. I'd love to meet up with you and talk a little bit more because this is like, there's so much nuance here. It's like swallowing the ocean, doing it in one setting. So I think there's definitely a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, anytime. Absolutely love to.
So what was your email address?
Oh yeah. Melder, MELDER at Moeller.org, O-R-G.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to shoot you an email right now. Yeah. Thanks again. And Trevin and I will, be in touch with you soon. We'll like he said, we'll post this on YouTube and, hell, if you need to send it to your coaches or anything, do whatever you need to do, but.
Yeah, no, perfect. Whatever you need, just let me know. And if anybody needs any of this drill stuff, I won't necessarily send our scheme stuff defensively, but like drill stuff, whatever anybody needs, I'm more willing to try to help. So, yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Yeah, see you guys.
See you.